Oh, nice. That sounds good.
My yeah, my friend who I work with has a farm out east, and so she brings me stuff from her organic farm.
Oh, that's
That's a
awesome.
good friend.
It is a
Yeah.
good friend.
Hmm.
I don't get stuff every week, but I get lots of really interesting stuff throughout the summer, spring and summer and fall.
I love that. And then you're getting like the most bioavailable stuff. So you're going to get like a
Yep,
lot of micronutrients in your
yep.
food.
And Sang Lee actually grows stuff on part of her husband's farm.
Huh. We love
So,
Singly.
yep.
That's cool. Excellent. All right, guys. So we're going to get started for tonight. Um, okay, thank you for tuning in, especially for tonight's presentation, but overall for the mini water and walking challenge. So to conclude our challenge tonight, we're going to build a little bit off of some of the material that we were talking about at our kickoff seminar, but also in the modules as well. So if it lets me resume, there we go. Okay,
Hi.
so of course, tonight is step 4 in the original infographic that you guys saw on Instagram of our final virtual seminar celebration. So big congratulations to everybody because you set out to do something to improve your overall health and well-being by honing in on two really important but overlooked areas, I feel like, of our nutrition and well-being, of the water intake especially, but of course the amount of time and consistency we spend regarding exercise. So just kudos to everybody for practicing healthier, happier habits to build towards greater hydration, expanding upon our physical activity routine, and reaching for newer, higher goals to overall improve our lasting well-being. So kudos to you guys. They of course we wanted to build upon the Facebook group, so we felt that everybody was doing a really good job in the group, because I know with water there's not so much to share like as it is with like meal prep or like bigger challenges. So thank you guys for your participation, especially sharing like some workouts, some especially time walking the dog. I think when other people see that, it encourages other people and motivates other people sometimes to get out there as well. So we're going to keep the Facebook going. So don't hesitate to post other things. You never know how what you post might impact somebody else one day. So of course, we engaged in this challenge to focus on bettering our hydration. We know that for some of us who are focusing on healthy weight alleviation, if we're dehydrated, we're not going to lose weight, because when we lose weight, we breathe it out, we pee it out, we sweat it out, right? So hydration is a key component of detox, getting rid of different chemicals and things we take in throughout the day, like BPA, dioxins, those more like permanent chemicals that could be in like our nonstick pans and water bottles. So, of course, water helps with detoxification and weight loss. It protects our heart, especially if our fluids are dropping too much and there's not as much water to have to circulate around. So the heart has to pump even more, even harder, to be able to deliver nutrients like oxygen to the muscles, which, of course, staying hydrated gives us more oxygen, improves our physical performance as well. So those are only a few ways that honing in on this water really impacted us. Of course, you could see, like, if you think about the kidneys, when we're dehydrated, they shrivel up like little grapes. And when we're hydrated, we're keeping them nice and plump, allowing those filters to continue to filter out waste and support our circulatory system. So we focused on SMART goals. So everyone was given their own individual target water goal, right? So that had been emailed to everybody and set up in your Practice Better account. So please, even though the challenge is ending, you can continue to log. That is not a problem. Your account's not getting deactivated. So of course, we want to continue to encourage those happy, healthy habits. The concept of the SMART goals is, although the long-term goals, so you want to think of it like an umbrella, the long-term top of the umbrella is to have about half our body weight in water. We're all building up to that depending on which stage we were starting off at, right? So if you were meeting your water goals very consistently, we had updated a few people's goals in the middle of the challenge to push that along. And if you find even now that the challenge is commencing, that you're like, okay, I up my water, I'm pretty consistent with X amount of glasses now, I'm going to up my target. Of course, we encourage that. If you have questions about proper phasing of that goal, we can always work with you like one-on-one in counseling, or you can always reach out for individualized questions. That's not a problem. So, of course, SMART goals just stand for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals, which is essentially the basis what we're using to phase your water along. So, of course, like water is very important, and we'd rather focus on pure water whenever possible. Sometimes that gets a little dull, and the overall goal is to hit our overall hydration, right? So for some individuals, they can do it with just water, or they might be focusing on purifying their water routine after a while. However, for some who need that extra flavor to really reach that hydration point, that's not a problem. It's good to have multiple tools in the tool belt. So this is something to consider, this image of having like a true lemon, which is essentially just like citric acid, a little natural like lemon oil or lemon juice that gets added to the water. It's a brand. They sell similar flavors that have very minimal ingredients, like true strawberry, for example, you can add to your water. Different fruit and herb combinations. So those had been attached in the first module. So of course you can build off of that or utilize those during the summer. I love making like a pretty picture in my fridge with different like frozen blueberries and basil, for example, because basil grows like a weed in my backyard. And frozen blueberries are a great antioxidant source that's really beneficial for the brain. So I love making that. It's pretty, it entices me to drink. It's also great for entertaining too. We put electrolyte flavor enhancers because there's other ones out there that can be good during your workout, or sometimes just to add extra flavor to drinks. The Ultima is a great brand. BioSteel is a great brand as well. Liquid IVs, LMNT pluses are also great, but you want to consider your own individual sodium needs when considering those higher sodium options, right? I do love the LMNT plus, especially a day I do like hot yoga, and the chocolate flavored one, especially when I'm a little extra fiending for sweets and it feels like I'm having hot chocolate, and I'll mix it with like a little bit of the chocolate Fairlife protein shake and hot water, and it satisfies that craving, but also helps to keep me hydrated as well. You can always take 100% fruit juice, like say beet juice, before a workout and put that with a little bit of water and sea salt as a natural like electrolyte enhancer as well, and that will also count towards your fluids. You could even make a spritzer in the afternoon or something in the summer is a great way to chillax on a Friday, make like a little mocktail. And some of those had been posted as well in the group. If you're looking for some more, I love the dietitian Dawn Jackson Blattner. You may have seen her. She had like a show like years ago. It was like My Diet's Better Than Yours, and that's how she got like kicked off. But she has a bunch on her website that can be good to look at as some other inspiration if you would like, that are also very natural and minimally enhanced by these like artificial flavorings like Mio, for example, or Crystal Light. We do want you guys to be careful of those. We want to try to avoid aspartame, for example, and sucralose. Especially sucralose has been linked as a carcinogen in some recent research. Teas are great, herbal teas, depending on different medications you may be on, that you can go towards, and coffee. If it's caffeinated, it'll count towards your goals up towards about 16 fluid ounces per day, just because it's a diuretic. But seltzer will also count as well. So have multiple tools in the tool belt to get you towards your overarching fluid needs. The benefits of filtered water. So today we're going to expand a little bit more with the whole water concept, more about environmental toxins. So filtered water can be better tasting, have better environmental benefits, of course, less waste going into the environment, have a better smell or taste, can boost our health because now we're taking out some more of those impurities, especially if you live near the Bethpage Plume, for example, or near one of the Superfund sites in the town of Brookhaven. Environmentally friendly, of course, can lead for cleaner dishes, can also help with avoiding various plumbing issues to have filtered water. So the concept of filtering our water as applied to the greatest health benefits we can get is it helps to prevent what's called endocrine disruptors or endocrine mimetics. from entering our body, right? So these are different chemicals like PFAs, which you've been probably seeing a lot of in the news, those like forever chemicals that were made by DuPont, phytoestrogens, different pesticides, BPA or bisphenol A, that's in a lot of our plastics, like our receipts. So our body like absorbs those, right? And this can be absorbed in our water, especially if we drink a lot of plastic water bottles. It's thought that we absorb at least about a credit card of plastic per year. So I figured this is an interesting topic to bring up just to kind of spice up water a little bit because it is water. Enough said there. So with these endocrine disruptors, you have different hormone receptors, right? And some of these chemicals, they'll bind to the hormone receptor where you could see here in the image where the hormone was meant to originally bind and then cause a cascade of response, right? However, when these endocrine mimetics are coming in and blocking, right, the hormone can't attach them because that parking spot is now taken up, right? So then we can't have that elevated hormone response. Same with different hormone mimetics. Some chemicals bind, and instead of just blocking the hormone receptor, they'll have a larger response of, say, like an estrogen response based on certain chemicals. So this is something we want to be aware of when considering our water, our beauty products, our cleaning products, etc., things we bring in our home. So endocrine disruptors are chemicals that, of course, are foreign to the body, and they disrupt the hormone functioning system in our body and can have adverse effect on growth in children, on those who are pregnant. Those are the two most vulnerable populations. And then they can affect risk for now diabetes, obesity, it's thought, different fertility issues, neurocognitive issues. We're seeing in even 9/11 responders based on their exposure down there and that whole plume of air that they had inhaled and been exposed to, having different cognitive decline issues, and of course, hormone related cancer. So we want to stay on top of endocrine disruptors. So when it applies to water, the Environmental Working Group, or EWG, is a private non-for-profit group that has set up a couple of different services that are great. For those who like Yucca, they also have a site called Think Dirty, and you can pay like a small subscription for like a month, like $3.99, scan all your beauty products, cleaning products, and it gives you alternatives. And something similar with the tap water database. So you can put in your zip code and where you live, and it'll tell you different chemicals that are in your specific water supply and start to route you towards different like pieces of equipment that you could consider for filtration for your home. So some different types of systems, there's pitcher filters, faucet mounted filters, countertop filters, under the sink filters, and reverse osmosis systems. You'll see here the water quality standard links on the side, where my cursor is circulating. Those are great marks to look for on different pieces of equipment that you might be considering for your home, especially NSF. Let's see if it lets me resume the slides. There we go. Okay, so reverse osmosis is going to be the best one. However, of course, the best is typically the most expensive. It's highly effective at removing most heavy metals, contaminants, and dissolved solids. It does help to improve taste, odor, overall quality of your water. Your pets will thank you. Apparently pets, that's like the number one things that pet psychologists say pets complain about is their water quality. It's a weird fact. Cons, requires a lot more water pressure, so that brings up the cost. It produces wastewater. So what are you going to do with that wastewater? And then it has an expensive initial cost and maintenance, although it is the best quality one. There's carbon filters. So you're still spending on, of course, filter replacement, but of course it's a little bit more cost effective than the reverse osmosis, and it can remove chlorine, VOCs, and other contaminants. So this is just a topic that I'm trying to familiarize myself with even more. So I figured I would introduce it to you guys to take the information and apply to your home. Look at if you have a fridge filtration system, see what kind of filtration system it has. And of course, keeping up with changing the filter, cleaning it, different maintenance, because if our filters are not working, our body becomes the filter, right? So different types of water. When, say you're on a road trip and you're popping into 7-Eleven or Wawa and you want to pick up a bottle on the go, of course, overall, we're going to try to encourage us to stay away from plastic, but sometimes you're just in a jam. There's different types of water you'll see in the market now. There's the spring water, of course, that's meant to be coming from a natural spring. So think like Poland Spring, safe to drink. And of course, it's more flavored. There's purified water, which is very similar to the spring water. However, more contaminants are removed and fluoride may be removed from purified water. Distilled water is boiled. You typically use that in like a chem class, say, but it's boiled to remove contaminants and minerals. It's not really used for drinking often. Of course, for babies, mineral water. This is the one I would recommend most. I can never pronounce the name right. The glass bottle on the bottom left of the slide here. I'm not going to say, I'm German, but I'm not.
Steiner.
How do you say it?
I think it's Gerald Steiner.
Gerald Steiner. I'm like, I'm German, but I'm not that German to be able to say that.
It's my favorite water. It has the highest mineral content in a lot of sparkling waters out there.
It has like 7% of your daily needs of calcium.
Yeah, it has a lot of calcium.
Yes, and yeah, I think it tastes good. It's kind of like Dasani. It has a little kick of that carbonation. So if you guys find it when you're out, it's a great one to get. Often I find it like Trader Joe's, Whole Foods will have it if you're stopping on the way. Also, we'll tell you kind of save your money if you're looking at like the alkaline water. Of course, like listen to your body. If you feel that it physically feels better in your body, you enjoy it better, that's, a different situation. However, with the alkaline water, we have our lungs, our kidneys, for example, our circulatory system that does help to balance our pH. So investing in like pH balanced water, unless you have certain, kidney abnormalities going on, even different lung conditions maybe, but more so kidneys, the pH water isn't really a necessity to go buying. However, if you can get mineral water when you're out, try to go for the mineral water over the alkaline water. Of course, we wouldn't be talking about fluids if we didn't touch upon sugar at least once or twice. So we've all seen like the Rethink Your Drink campaigns. So of course, we're going to consider sugar. Just a little number I like to always keep in the back of everyone's minds is 4 grams equals a teaspoon. So many of us, I find, tend to be very visual learners. So if you're reading the back of a label and you're seeing, okay, 8, 12, 16 grams, you could start to see that in terms of teaspoons, just to create a good visual and assess your needs from there. In general, the USDA doesn't have like a set, like percent daily value for a sugar. That's why you won't see a percentage next to it. The World Health Organization does recommend no more than 9 teaspoons or 36 grams of sugar for men and 6 teaspoons or 25 grams of sugar for women per day. Another general guideline that you'll see is no more than 15 teaspoons of sugar per day from different groups like Rethink Your Drink. So of course, when it comes to added sugar, less is best. Sugar, so when it comes to sugars too, natural sugars are going to be like your honey, your dates, your agave. Personally, I like to recommend honey if we're going to have a natural way to add sweetness. I'd rather add honey than say agave, just because, or other sugars like even white sugar, brown sugar, etc., sugar in the raw, turbinado. The honey is going to at least offer some gut permeability benefits for the lining of your gut. It's going to also be good if you have any upper respiratory issues, to calm the throat lining, and it's going to have more antimicrobial benefits. So at least for what you're taking in, you're getting some other benefit on the side. And I hate to speak that way, but it's kind of like looking at the food and saying like, what are you going to do for me? Like, is there going to be some kind of benefit for me taking it in, where like if I'm taking in soda versus juice, at least juice will give me some vitamins. Soda is going to give me nothing. So, seeing in that regard. These are just some other fun, healthy, like mocktails, spritzers, however you want to call it, ways to flavor the drink when we're craving a little something sweet. Adding a little bit of 100% fruit juice is not always like a bad idea. You just want to count that towards your sugars for the day, or your carbs, I should say, for the day, and aim for 100% fruit juice. Working with a dietitian can always help to figure out the right allotments for you in terms of your carbohydrate needs for the day, and like your timing of maybe different nutrients like this for like electrolyte infusions for your workouts, for example. If I'm exercising in the summer and I'm sweating a lot, like if I'm doing hot yoga, or if I know I'm going to be exercising more than 60 minutes, I will pack a electrolyte drink, something like this, for those workouts so I can minimize cramping, keep myself hydrated, keep nutrients going to my muscles, and prevent myself from getting any like uncomfortable side stitches, things like that, or just low energy. They're also good after a workout too. This is a Mel Robbins podcast clip I wanted to share. It's a little long, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the Facebook group for everybody. But if you don't know about Mel Robbins, she has an awesome podcast, spans a lot of different topics. So she's just good to know about. But the clip that I'm going to share with you guys is about like kind of like habit stacking and starting your day off with about like 16 ounces of water if we're not already, and giving a good explanation behind why we don't want to start with a cup of coffee. So essentially, if we're waking up first thing in the morning and having a cup of coffee, we're priming our body, one, to look for that coffee as a quick energy source versus our body naturally kind of becoming ready for the day, right? Getting up, walking, getting some early sunlight in our eyes first thing. And the coffee, of course, is going on if it goes in on an empty stomach, it's going to send a cue in our body to increase our cortisol, which is like our stress hormone. So cortisol is already at its highest high for the day in the morning because cortisol serves the job of taking us out of what I call like sleep mode, right? So when we're sleeping, our vitals go into like a depressed state, right? Our respiration rate goes down, our heart rate goes down because our body's in like a rest and repair mode, right? So cortisol is going to start to steadily spike. It should start to steadily spike around like 4, 5, 6 a.m., depending on your normal circadian rhythm. And that's meant to start to bring your blood sugars up, your heart rate up, and to eventually wake you up and get you ready for the day. So now if I add that stimulant that the caffeine is first thing on an empty stomach, it's going to push that cortisol higher for what's high for me. It's going to create that propensity for my sugars, which are already at the highest high for me for the day, to go even higher. But most importantly, it's going to be taxing on my adrenals, especially if I'm concerned about different female hormones, that if my adrenals are focusing on making that cortisol, which is going to make me more prone for storage of belly fat, then my adrenals, those glands, they're not going to be helping to make estrogen and progesterone down the chain. So I know it sounds like a little nitpicky thing, but get water in first thing in the morning and try to postpone your coffee a couple hours if you can till after you eat maybe like a hard-boiled egg, a little bit of fruit or something else in the tank first. Worst case scenario too is make like a prophy, which is like taking the vital proteins, collagen peptides, putting that in the water, or a protein shake in the coffee, or putting a protein shake as like a creamer in the coffee too. This is something else I just showed with Christina earlier on Water Talk. I'll share this with you guys. Apparently it's a big trend with TikTok. I don't know. I'm not really online that much, guys. But if you hear anything about Water Talk, I guess it's like this whole conundrum of is it water, is it diet soda? Because people are adding all these artificial sweeteners in to flavored drinks and fill their Stanleys. So this dietitian was just coming at it on all different angles. But like we've been talking about, it's okay to flavor your water, especially if it's going to get you to reach your fluid goals. You just want to be considerate about what you use to flavor and try to avoid a lot of those artificial sweeteners, which is funny. Okay, SMART goals, just like we were talking about. Now we're going to get more into the exercise section today. So, of course, we all know the benefits of exercise. It's that smoking is the new, sitting is the new smoking, right? So over here on the left is some sustained effects of increased sedentary activity. So we see it overall leads to an increase in risk for different metabolic conditions, heart disease, diabetes, risk for increasing pro-inflammatory markers, which could put us at risk for different cancers, say, of course, increased waist circumference and decreased bone bone density, right, from those who are sitting more. However, with exercise, by increasing our activity, we're doing a lot of benefits for our brain, our heart, reducing risk for cancer, strengthening our bones, focusing on balance and coordination to reduce risk for hip fractures down the road, which, believe it or not, is a silent killer of many people. Breaking a hip, often there's a stat, I think it's like 1/3 of those who break a hip have a higher risk for mortality within a year. And of course, exercise can help to manage mood and anxiety, different issues with depression, because we're releasing more of those endorphins. So in case we needed some extra motivation, figure this is a good slide for that. We want to consider the activity pyramid. So we had touched on this very briefly in the first presentation. So you just want to look at a whole wide array of activities, just like we have lots of tools in the tool belt when it comes to getting our fluids in. It's the same when it comes to exercise. So if I only did the workout class that I like to do, and if I only did that 4 or 5 days a week, I'd be so bored. So I have to kind of balance it out with a little paddle boarding or kayaking, yoga, strength training, my fitness classes, and like running or biking. So you could put on different hats and see what you enjoy and feel like doing. Of course, these are the USDA guidelines. So you want to meet or beat these guidelines by trying to have at least 150 minutes of cardio a week or 30 minutes 5 times a week. You can pool it different ways. Of course, you could do 10 minutes 3 times a day if you'd like, versus 30 minutes a day. And of course, you want to aim for strength training at minimum 2 times a week. And with that being said, part of the new guidelines is with strength training, you want to try to hit each of the major muscle groups twice. So if someone is only exercising twice a week in terms of strength training, that's where you'd want to try to do a total body lift, say. Also, part of the new USDA recommendation is to avoid having 2 or more days in a row without exercising. So it's recommended to have 1 off day versus 2 or 3. However, with that new recommendation in mind, you want to consider your own body, if there's any injuries going on, if you are sick, fatigued, you need rest, you need rest. So how we're going to keep the ball in the air, right? So the challenge helps to provide support, provide some accountability, creates extra motivation. But now that the challenge is ending, we still want to keep the progress that we've been working on. So we want to assess what our current activity level is now, just like we did when we were starting off, right? We were looking at what our current exercise was, what was our current fluids. Did I increase? Did I decrease? Did I stay the same? What's going on with me, right? Then you'd look at your data, right? So if you have it in your tracker and you'll say, okay, maybe I'm averaging, 3-4 days a week of exercise, or 2 to 3 days a week of exercise for 30 minutes. Maybe I can see if I want to make one day of the week 45 minutes, or can I try to add another day in, and then be practical about it, right? Like and logical, like where am I going to put it? What exercise am I going to do? Create a plan around it so we're not willing ourselves into it, because when it's planned, we can kind of just fall into it, and it's more of like a structured appointment with ourselves. So choose that goal. You can make it a goal also regarding an activity, right? So for some of us, if we keep making our goals around weight loss, it kind of gets stale, right? That could still be our overarching long-term goal, but maybe focusing in on, all right, can I do 500 meters on the rower in 2 minutes? Or can I get a 5K done in 30 minutes? Can I try to get my squat weight up a little more? Or can I get an extra couple reps in? Making more tangible physical goals, so it can give you a little bit more kind of like steam as you are working towards these bigger goals, if that makes sense. Get a buddy, right? I think the buddy system is great. Like if you have a friend that you're just texting and updating about your progress, and you're talking things through, and you work out together, you set a time, you set a location. Of course, working with a registered dietitian can help. Although we do nutrition, we do help to provide accountability for other wellness related goals too. And we do check in the middle of our services. Okay, how are we doing with our exercise? All right, where do you want to be? What goals can we set? And we can help offer input in that direction as well. Monitor and evaluate your progress. I know it might sound frustrating to like document things or track things, but it's nice when you can look back and then see and be aware of realistically the habits that we have so that we can work with our own selves from a realistic manner and build slowly upward versus setting ourselves up for failure and expecting ourselves to go from working out 1 to 2 days a week to like 6 days a week, for example. And always coming from the athlete mindset of what can I do just to be a little bit healthier today than I was yesterday? How can I up the ante? How can I push myself? So how to set your intentions for a long-lasting, successful workout routine, right? Knowing exactly what am I trying to accomplish, right? Setting tangible, realistic, measurable goals. What is my number one most important goal? I think that's a big thing to highlight because when people start on different nutritional journeys, they're focusing on their fiber, their protein, their exercise, their strength training, their water, and there's so many different balls in the air that's why like with this mini challenge, we chose just 2 things to really focus in on and draw our attention to. And so you're gonna be more likely to achieve that and then build off of that. You want to think when you're setting new goals and reassessing the next program, next thing you're going to be doing is what will my life be like once I achieve this goal? How will I feel? So you want to make it something that's more intrinsic, right? Versus extrinsic. There's some goals that it's nice to have. All right, I want to try to, feel more comfortable in my clothes for a wedding coming up, a trip coming up, but that's short term, right? You want to think long term. How am I going to physically feel? The sense of pride I'm going to have in myself, the routine, taking ownership, taking identity almost for what the new habit is going to be. I'm a person who drinks water. I wear the identity of someone who walks around hydrated, right? So it's owning it. And then how will I feel if I don't achieve this goal? So it kind of creates a little bit of stress, which is always good to give a little push for a new habit. However, we've known if there's a lot of stress, sometimes that can be crippling, or if there's no stress, that can sometimes be crippling. So creating some kind of incentive or a deadline to try to achieve things by can be good. And of course, these are all things we do in nutrition counseling to make things realistic and attainable. 5 ways to stay motivated, right? So that's always a piece too, is like, what am I going to be focusing on and how am I going to keep pushing myself through it? So I think, again, community is so important, whether here within the challenge group, within the Facebook, within nutrition counseling, within your family, the more people you share your goals with, like your friends, it's the more likely you are to achieve it. I think part of it is you're saying it aloud, you're creating something that's real, it's tangible. But then it's like, oh, I told Susie this, I told so-and-so this, I want to like hold myself to it. And then it becomes kind of like an identity. Celebrate yourself. So we're going to talk about different ways of healthy rewards to keep incentivizing and motivating ourselves throughout, building upon our exercise. And find your why. I think a lot of things come down to your why. I've got a lot of gentlemen and ladies I'll work with that maybe their why is being there to walk their daughter down the aisle or dance at their daughter's wedding, or it's to see their grandchildren off to college, whatever, or maybe they've had an unhealthy relationship with food throughout their life, and maybe their goal is just to have a healthy relationship with food and exercise as a means of health versus trying to shrink ourselves mentally and physically. Whatever that is, find your why and remind yourself of it. I used to keep different triggers, like a photo trigger that I find motivating, especially during like a sports season, on the back of my phone, like my lock screen or my home screen, because how many times do you look at your phone during the day? Or leaving like a little note in the bathroom is like, hey, reminder, your goals, this is what you want to achieve, or focusing on it during meditation, whatever it is, but stay focused on your why and keep it front and center. So some healthy rewards. Of course, we don't want to incentivize like too much like food as reward, right? But we could look at smaller to more intermediate to larger goals, depending on, rewards based on the size of the goal that's achieved. So maybe I have some individuals that they reward themselves when they're walking on the treadmill with listening to a certain podcast or show. saying, okay, when I watch this show, I have to be, walking on the treadmill. So there's some kind of an incentive, and they're associating it with like a joyful experience. Enjoying a relaxing like Epsom salt bath with some essential oils infused into it, or like a massage. I love treating myself to a massage as a reward. Spending quality time with loved ones. That's not so much a reward, but I mean, you could make it one. That's something we all earn. Trying out a new hobby or an activity could be a reward. Going to a new favorite park or outdoor space. That's one that I often like to use if I'm trying to, run more or something. If I'm going to a new space, it's kind of like something else to explore. So it creates some kind of other stimulus that distracts me a little bit too from when I'm running. So it's also a little reward, but motivator at the same time. Going out for a nice dinner. Yeah, it's a little bit of food as reward, but of course, if we keep a healthy mindset around it, that can be something. Purchasing a new book, audiobook for when you're exercising, but these are all great to refer to and to consider. Let's see. And then how to get it done, right? So try to do some activity on most days of the week. We call it being activity minded. So some days the calendar is just, it is what it is. We're all busy New Yorkers, right? Sometimes even if you wake up at the crack of dawn and you're going to bed late, there just isn't time in the day, and that's okay to realize that, and then try to say, all right, how can I get a little more steps? Can I park a little further away? Can I take the stairs? Can I try to get in a couple, laps of the work building at, lunch, or can I try to stand just a little bit when I'm doing my notes, but just trying to keep it on the front of our mind, maybe stretching at night before bed on really busy days. A lot of us, building off of that, leading a busy life, we have to make the time, right? So I like to recommend looking at your week and trying to schedule in set appointments for oneself, say Monday, Wednesday, Friday at a certain time. You write it down, you're committing to it, you put it in the Google Calendar, you share with your significant other, your kids, your family member. This is where I'm going to be, this is what I'm doing. We schedule around it. And committing to yourself. Sometimes if you're committing to somebody else and doing the whole buddy system, that can help with scheduling, because you don't want to cancel on the other person and leave them alone. We can, engage in all sorts of activities. I saw even line dancing on there with the exercise that people logged. That I think that's awesome. Finding a hobby that doesn't feel like working out can be really, really good. For me, that's the paddle boarding. Choose activities that are right for you, and talk with your doctor, of course, if you're going to engage in new activity, say like martial arts. That could be always a fun new stimulating activity for some. Tai Chi, yoga. And spread your activities out throughout the week. I used to murder myself sometimes, and I would look at my schedule and say, okay, the beginning half of my week is really busy, but the other half of my week I can get it in. And I would try to do like 3 or 4 days in a row, and it would just beat up my body too much. It was too much. So of course, spreading it out is really important, so you can give your joints time to rest and repair and reduce risk for injuries, pulls, things like that. So of course, how to win the challenge. We're going to do 2 winners, of course, right? An exercise winner and a water winner, right? So the way to win the exercise portion was to whoever had the most minutes of activity logged. And I'd like to share our winner is Sandy, of course. She kicked butt. Sandy came in with, I think it was, let me pull up the spreadsheet. It was like 1,586 minutes. So Sandy, way to go. A honorable mention is of course Nancy. She came in with a close second. Nancy had exactly 1,558 minutes logged. So overall, great job, guys, with the exercise. And I think overall, a lot of you really responded well to that. I think a lot of, if this can go back, there we go. A lot of you logged either by manual entry, by linking your Apple Watch or your Fitbit. So I thought it was really cool to see the group participation there and the different activities that everyone enjoyed. So kudos to Sandy. And then, of course, the second way to win was water. So everyone got their own set water goal based off of their baseline water. And some people got increased throughout the way if they were consistently hitting their water, right? So the person who wins this part of the challenge is the person who most consistently reached their target water goal or exceeded that. And our winner is on a roll. Emily is our winner for the water challenge. So congratulations, Emily. Way to go. And there was a lot of honorable mentions too for the water category. I just want to say, so Nancy and Sandy both also were honorable mentions for the water category. Michelle was an honorable mention for the water category as well. And yes, you guys did a really, really good job all around as a group. I'll share with you, as a group, we logged, this is what we logged versus what we consumed, right? Because we're all human and not everything gets logged, but we can log 213 gallons of water. So way to go. We're starting to fill up a swimming pool. And then we logged 10,892 minutes of exercise logs. So I was going to do the math and try to figure out how many 5Ks that is, but that's a little crazy. But great job, guys, as a team. And I think we most importantly need to look at non-scaled victories of honing in on our water intake and our exercise. Does anybody want to share maybe some wins that they had from increasing their water? I know for me, it helps my mood and my mental clarity for sure. Do you guys notice some things that occurred due to increasing your exercise or your water?
Emily typed in it helps her control her appetite.
Oh, for sure, right? Like the am I thirsty, am I hungry conundrum, right? For sure. Did anybody run into anything else?
I just felt better. I was more like physically active and trying to like walk at least on days I wasn't exercising. And I felt like that helped just staying like my bones and my like joints and everything staying like healthy feeling.
I agree. I agree. Like it keeps my like hip flexors feeling less tight when I'm like getting up and like walking more, getting my circulation going. But of course, so guys, like I was saying earlier, if you want to share different things on the Facebook, that's going to stay open. If you want to stay logging your intake, please, that's going to stay open as well. If you have questions on an individual level, you can always work with us one-on-one. And we're going to also segue into a new challenge. This was a mini challenge, so we're going to do a bigger challenge starting come middle of Christina, when we were thinking like April 15th area
Yeah, we haven't decided either April 15th or May 1st.
or May 1st.
We're just figuring out the duration, but we want to like lead it up to Memorial Day.
Exactly. Yeah. So create that, you know, how we were talking about having like that external motivator a little bit. We are going to have that as Memorial Day for you guys if you'd like. So keep your eyes out. We'll be posting that all over the Instagram. And of course, we will be able to utilize insurance for that challenge. It's going to be Whole30 focused. So Whole30 is kind of like a healthy version of like an elimination diet. It's not meant for someone who has past history of disordered eating, just because it is a little regimented with the foods that can be consumed, but it's meant to kind of detoxify the diet from like sugar, refined carbohydrates. It focuses more on like fruits and vegetables, plant-based foods, right? And of course, like our proteins. And with that being said, you cut those foods out, the more inflammatory foods, I should say, like the sugar out for like 30 days. And then you start to phase in different foods to see what your tolerance is with, you know, say dairy, for example, or different beans and legumes or different grains. So that will be that challenge. It does also help with weight alleviation, body recomposition goals, inflammation related goals, and chronic disease management related goals. So it fits a lot of unique different individuals. So if you have questions about it, you can feel free to ask us along the way. But most importantly, celebrate you because you guys completed something at a time of year that can be a little rougher to focus on our wellness in the depths of winter. And now we're coming into spring. So time to celebrate that. And most importantly, thank you for participating. Thank you for tuning in tonight. And enjoy your night, guys. Have a very happy Easter for those who are celebrating Easter this weekend.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.